We make the strings louder.
Later. Fuck, dude, it's almost been a year.
Has it?
Something like that.
Has it? All right. So what day is it? What day is it?
Today is Monday the 11th.
About 7-Eleven.
7-Eleven.
Dude, you're lucky.
Free Slurpees, bud.
Oh, but it's your lucky day too. Look at that. So anyhow, this thing has been. Well, you tell them what's happened.
It's Saturday, dude.
Why?
Well, for the whole time I didn't have a title, so I didn't want to work on it because I didn't have a title. So I was like all scared that if I put it all back together, put the engine in, then I wouldn't be able to get a title, and so then I would have to take it all back apart, and part it out to try and.
But what was the issue with the title? Like, because you bought it from a guy who got it from a guy who was supposed to have the title.
Yeah.
But then.
So I bought it from a buddy of mine who originally owned this car years and years ago, and then he sold it to the guy that got it in its state that it's in. The guy had it kind of locally. It was turbo, and he blew the engine up, and it sat in the storage unit for a few years, and he never fixed it or anything like he was wanting to. He took it all apart, and then he was in the military, and then he was getting out of the army, and so he moved back to California where he was from, and so he didn't want to take the car with him, so he sold it back to my buddy who originally owned it, who sold it to him.
But he never
so
gave him the title because he had it was like loan shit at the bank, but then they sent him the money to pay off the loan, so he paid off the loan, but he never got the title. I don't know, some horse shit. But anyhow, he went through the whole process, bonded for the title.
Yeah, it cost me a bunch of money
and a lot of time too. But
I got a title. So
so he's got a title, free and clear now, so everything's good to go. Fuck, let's uncover this son of a bitch, dude.
Look how fucking grimy that looks, dude. Fuck.
Hey, at least it's been covered up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I appreciate it, bro.
Look at that. And we did a little bit of ranging in the shop. You know, the whole, S2K, S14 drift car. That's the motor. So he bought this thing, and it had, if you guys go back to I think it's part 1 or something, I'll go ahead and put the link in the prescription of that. But basically the car was turboed. They basically popped the ring lands on it, put the big old scratch in the cylinder wall. You can't just, bore them out. You have to sleeve them because the way the cylinder walls are and the coatings and stuff. And so anyhow, he just said, "Bart will do." Bought basically a complete another swap, engine tranny. And so the other one's just sitting over there on the other side of my S14. Has been sitting there for a little while. But so yeah, anyhow, we're just going to basically put this thing back to stock. You can still see the remnants of intercooler piping. He has the intercooler. It's over there in a pile. But yeah, so we're basically just going to put it back together, OEM type of swap, get it running again. He's going to drive it for a little bit and decide if he wants to keep it or not. Maybe turbo it, maybe not. Maybe just sell it because, him's got him an expensive bike now. But yeah, so that's pretty much the plan. So today we're just going to stab the motor, which shouldn't take a whole hell of a lot of time.
Yeah, it's nice everything's still kind of in there, so.
Yeah, so, should pretty much just basically drop it in, bolt some shit on it, plug it in, and there we go. You have drive shaft and everything?
Yeah, it's in the truck.
You think? Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just going to kind of move some shit around, got the damn Jeep in the way, moved a bunch of other stuff, got to clean up some oil. But, yeah, we'll get working on it. All right, so we got it up in the air, threw the motor mounts on, threw the AC compressor on. So far, it doesn't really look like, much else we need to throw on, but we're just going to get it in there, sitting down, get the tranny and everything bolted up. It already has the, tranny mount and everything on it. So we'll get it sitting in there and then basically just start hooking shit up and figuring out what we're missing and what we're not and go from there.
I wonder if we should have more slack in the shit so that we can
kind of tilt it a little bit more. So we're experiencing some difficulty right now. So basically, if we get it, I have this strap right here pulling the engine up, but you can see It's touching the back right there. It's getting ready to touch that. You got the motor mount touching down there. So all the few little things are kind of, you know, kind of fighting us. The things that can or are. So what, you know, after Googling some shit and asking some other people, they said basically either got to go like remove engine and tranny separate and throw them in. You know, like engine first, tranny, then, you know, bolt up to the ship. But we don't really want to do that. We want to put it all in one thing. Other people say, you know, subframe. Don't want to do that either. So I think what we're gonna do is, you know, because a lot of people are doing this shit in their garage, so they don't really know, you know, they don't have a lift or like a giant, you know, crane like this. But people are saying that you basically gotta go 90 degrees straight up and down to get it in there. So I think that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna jack up the car a little bit more, you know, engine hoist all the way up, this thing straight up and down, you know, and just stab her in there. So here we go. So after we went like 90 degrees on it, it still wasn't working. The intake manifold was sitting over here on the pipe, and it just wasn't really looking like it was gonna be too much fun. Like we could have probably done it, but we'd have dicked some shit in the meantime. So we went ahead, we decided we're just gonna drop the subframe. So went ahead, the brake master cylinder was already loose, or already didn't have any fluid in it. Pulled off the brake lines, upper control arm, the top of the struts. There's 3 bolts that do that hold it up to the subframe, some long ass guys like that. And dropped the sway bar, disconnected the steering, removed some ABS sensors, and should be good to go up. So I got everything all basically just sitting in the motor mounts. One of the things that, I mean, it's basically just like my damn Evo when I was putting it back together. I mean, I had random nuts and bolts, but it didn't have like all the nuts and bolts. So basically the same exact thing with this is, you know, it wants to just be a pain in the ass and, you know, give you a whole bunch of troubles. We should probably just throw the header back on. Yeah. While it's right here. That's what I was thinking. But yeah, so we're getting pretty close.
All bolts up there.
Are they? Yeah. Well, there's probably one we get one on it. But yeah, so we have some nuts and bolts, but we don't have all the nuts and bolts. Yeah, we'll just leave it like that. So yeah, now onto the lower end. All right, so this is kind of got the wiring harness and everything hooked up to it. Just kind of figuring out all the stuff we're missing so far. Definitely missing alternator. The few other, you know, air intake. It's missing like the exhaust he has, you know, because this thing was turboed before. So he has like a 3-inch exhaust over here for the, you know, where the battery is supposed to go. It has these AC, you know, relocated. So the AC lines have been relocated, so basically they've been cut and welded. You can see a little weld right there. Normally they just come straight through here. This box is supposed to be kind of sideways right here, and then the battery is supposed to be sitting basically right there. So we got to mess with that a little bit. On the injectors, it had like some Bosch style injectors, so we're gonna have to cut those off and redo those. It had a different map sensor on it. So it has, you know, that's been cut off as well. I have an extra Honda harness over here. And so these are basically the style of injector plugs we need. I believe one of these looks like the map sensor plug. But yeah, we hooked up the, you know, the jumper box to it and all the lights and everything work. It had the battery relocated to right here, but I don't think that's going to work. basically because the soft top, because it had a hard top on it. So, you know, this whole space right here is taken up by the soft top, so you can't put anything there. So we're gonna have to relocate the battery back to the front or into the trunk. I would prefer to put it back, you know, we're trying to put this thing back together to be like OEM, you know, to where you can't really tell it was taken apart type of deal. But yeah, so need to redo all that stuff. It's got a ton of speaker wire everywhere. Underneath the dash is, you know, basically a big alarm system mess. That's the steering wheel to my 1J car, because it needs to buy a steering wheel for it, but has an aftermarket radio, got the shifter and everything installed. Still need to put in the drive shaft. This looks like one they had welded up, that's like a little bit beefier. Because this thing did have like an upgraded rear end in it, and then they ended up swapping that out. Basically, the guy had 2 turbo S2000s and then kind of traded parts and swapped stuff, and you know, all that's, you know, is a big mess of shit. But anyhow, so that's kind of so far. Missing lower radiator hose, you know, door mirrors, you know, radiator cap, just little dumb piddly shit like that. For the most part, it looks like pretty much everything's here. It's just gonna take a little bit more time to actually get her, you know, kind of straightened out.